Mike Waltz he's about to go destroy the UN. That's what we're about to see happening.
Can we trust Mike Waltz?
Absolutely not. No.
So
we cannot trust him, but still better than the other options. So there's a little bit of a give and take there.
You know, when you're coming from the Susan Rices of the world, who, by the way, got fired.
And not the good Susan Rice.
Not the good Susan Rice.
The one bad in the comment section. Yeah, the bad one.
But coming from there, I don't know if you can get much worse than that. Although we do have to say that he was deeply involved as a national security advisor in what happened with Hegseth. It almost felt like a setup.
Yeah, it seemed like he wanted to set it up so it would look bad for the Trump administration, which is a little weird. But at the same time, Trump must trust him to some degree. Otherwise, he's not going to be making him ambassador to the UN.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what he trusts and doesn't trust. He just gave an interview to a journalist, and the journalist asked him point blank, "Do you trust Putin?" And he goes, "I don't trust you. I don't trust many people. But, you know, it's not a matter of trust. It's, can he get the job done, and will he do and execute faithfully against what the administration wants him to do?" That is where I kind of draw the line. Is he going to slow things down?
Well, if you look at his connections, Goldberg and others, it's very much establishment war hawk connections, while at the same time, he's publicly the opposite. So he does seem to be kind of in the camp of the bad guys while trying to claim to be, and at least outwardly portraying himself as being one of the good guys. A little bit of a weird dynamic going on with Waltz.
You know, yesterday or this morning, I guess I put send this morning. I talked about the fact that we're 100 days in. We've had morsels of wins. But much like what we see on a daily basis, whether we're talking the last 4 years or the last 40 years, it's just enough to keep us hungry. Yeah, they're pursuing justice. They're pursuing what we want, that accountability. But here we are 100 days in, and all we have to show for it is a little kabuki theater, people standing on stage, a couple people getting arrested. You know, even if you talk about the exportation, the deportation of illegals, it's down to a trickle.
It's nothing. And not only that, but they could activate multiple policies right now that would lead to a bigger deportation number. And they're not doing it.
Why?
At least it's down to 7,000 a month instead of 300,000. That's one positive thing, but that's not nearly enough. That's still 7,000 people coming in. Why can't it be zero? And why can't we have every single illegal immigrant have to leave? And if they want to apply, they're still going to be denied, because I don't care about that either. I don't want any immigration. No legal, no illegal, none of that. We're done. We have enough people here. I like who we are now. I don't want more people. I don't want others. Oh, legal immigration. Yeah. How about F off? How about no immigration? And instead, we only are deporting and not importing. How about that?
Well, I mean, you could say that, but based on the current dynamic of the child other than you, right? Because you're going to have a football team. The average is like 1.7 or 1.8 child per couple, right? And as a birth rate.
That's
and
terrible.
That's not sustainable. I mean, that by itself means that we will deplete our. So we do have to have some immigration.
I disagree. I think what we can do is twofold. Number one, incentivize people to have more children. That's number one. And there's so many ways to do that. You can have more tax incentives put in place for having children.
Okay, but then hold on a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said tax incentives. I want to talk directly to that. We're taxed to death. Oh, yeah. I mean, so you want to get an incentive to get back the money you already have. See, this is the biggest problem that I have with both sides of the aisle, is that we're taxed. I mean, 56 cents on every dollar goes to the government.
And more if you live in California.
I mean, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable where it is right now.
And not only that, but they're wasting the money. Imagine if instead of spending $800 million a year, or dollars a year on the military, instead of doing that, imagine if we spent $800 billion a year on incentivizing families, on setting up structures, making it easier for childcare if you need that, but also allowing moms to stay at home and raise their kids, and allowing them to be able to have income from the dad that will be sufficient in coordination with the government laying off and letting us be, and letting the systems fall into place that will work for people, that won't work against us. It's not that complicated.
No, it's not.
We don't need, but the point is, we don't need more immigrants to do that. We founded the greatest country on earth. That was our ancestors that did that. That was us. We didn't do it with the help of people from other countries. And so if we become those other countries, then who even cares if everything is working as far as the systems?
So you're against the globalist environment. You're against what happened to Canada.
Oh yeah, Canada's
quite literally.
I'm very much against what happened to Canada, because if you look at Canada now, it's way less safe. First of all, their policies are terrible. They don't understand economics at all. It's basically a new group coming in and taking advantage of the people there to spend a bunch of money, get free handouts, free programs. I don't care if they're smart, if they're not, whatever. They're taking advantage because they don't fundamentally care about the country and its people. And if you have a large population that fits that mold, you're screwed. You don't have a country anymore.
Now you have World Star. I think it's just under 50%, 47 or 48% of its citizenry is less than 2 generations old.
And it's worse when you look at the birth rates, because the people who are being born aren't real Canadians or real Americans, even in our case already. It's already at the point where Texas is like 30% white Americans. Like what the heck's going on with that? You know, it's sad because it means.
Well, I mean, look, you could talk about black, white, Hispanic Americans that have been around for generations.
That's true,
right? And so we have to look at it from the standpoint of the footprint that we have as an America. My biggest issue with what is happening now, as far as people coming in, is that, and I saw a couple of videos that I put up, especially what's happening in Scotland, where the people that are there for generations are then forgotten, and this new group of people coming in feel as if they're entitled and they can take off the bone what isn't theirs, right? So, and they don't have to assimilate to our way of life. They don't have to adjust to the ethos of our nation. And although we're a melting pot, the melting pot then just ignores the history of what we've been for the last 250 years.
Yeah, it does. And it's disrespectful to our founding fathers who made this country for the ancestors of the people who founded it, not for everyone on earth to share. And on top of that, we like other countries. We want to help other countries, but you do that by being strong and innovating, not by letting everyone come to you and then you're just like every other country. Yeah, it's not a complicated formula.
Well, if we look at something that I think is really interesting about where we're at in our country, if you were to carve out the inner cities, you were to carve out the controlled areas of Democrats, if you were to carve out those areas of Democrats, up until 2 years ago, and I say 2 years ago because there's been this large push to infiltrate the conservative environments with radical leftist Democrat grooming children and infiltrating those environments, with just really disgusting people. But if you go, and you only have to go back 2 years, we're in a failed state of education. We're in a failed state of you call it policing, or just basic, fundamentals of how to have a thriving society. But if you take out those areas run by Democrats, we go back to pre-1950s crime statistics. Pre-1950s.
That sounds nice. And you know what it is, though? It's the immigrants are in the cities. They're now voting for politicians who don't care about us, who want to see more crime, who are extremely liberal, who give them their handouts that many of them do want and take advantage of. And so they're coming in, they're taking away the systems that stop the bad percent of people from doing bad things, while simultaneously also many of them are participating in the crime itself at a higher rate than the average American by a significant amount.
Yeah, but doesn't that actually push towards, if we look at it from that perspective, and we're getting a little off, this is actually a good conversation, because
it is.
We can actually start working the problem backwards on what is it that really is the problem and not the symptom to the problem. But don't we have to look at specifically look at the mechanisms, the apparatuses that have created or hindered the ability for there to be opportunities, especially in areas where, it's a urban environment.
If you look at the 1950s, 1940s, we had better systems in every capacity.
In every area.
And
cities, by the way, were run by conservatives.
And you look at photos of people, black, white, whatever, everyone was wearing suits, everyone respected each other. And that shows that you can have a society. It doesn't have to be 100% white, and it can still be a great society as long as everyone buys into the same culture, everyone's willing to share the ideals, respect each other. That's doable. And the problem is you can't do that if people don't buy into the culture. And who doesn't buy into the culture? A lot of the immigrants, a very high percentage of them that are coming. There's some that do, but it's not enough. It's not worth it. We can't.
You mean
fund them
the
into a change our
Islamabad
culture.
of Texas? It is happening. So we're going to talk about this today.
Yeah.
We're going to break this out. We're also going to talk about another Democrat grooming child predator that was caught down in Texas.
Disgusting. It's so many of them. It's at this point, it's almost like it's more. If I see someone who looks that way and it has those ideas, it's more likely than not that they're probably participating in that.
I agree with you. And then we're going to talk about National Security Advisor now pushed to be a UN ambassador. And the question is, why did Trump make this move? He's always 2 steps ahead. So we're going to talk about this and a lot of other things today on the show. So stay tuned.
Take 2. Cut.
Take 2.
I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people. Right, follow me with this.
But they've been using their power to obstruct and stop justice from taking place.
You want to pray us out?
I do.
We'll pray for Tina. And let's have conversations about what truth is.
I love that we have prayer in the intro. I feel like that's powerful. It gets better every time you watch it, right?
Yeah, it does.
Good stuff.
Matt, I keep coming back to the generational gap between me and Matt. So Matt is younger than I am by a couple decades.
Yeah, by a very, very, very large amount.
And I still beat him in basketball, which is just a testament to the fortitude of my gene pool. But there's things that Matt is bringing in with his generation that brings a lot of wisdom to kind of what we've screwed up, that we haven't paid attention to. And Matt has 3 children, 3 girls. And I look at I'm actually afraid for your children because of people like who we're about to talk about, because it's so pervasive.
It makes it almost impossible to feel good about sending them to school, putting them in programs, anywhere where they can be vulnerable is now off limits. In a society where that's the case isn't a society.
So let's talk about this guy, shall we?
We shall.
His name is Carl Sprayberry. That's him.
Carl what?
Sprayberry.
What kind of berry?
He sprays some berries.
Does he spray the berries? Okay,
Yes.
That's disgusting.
He's a former failed candidate for the Georgia State House, and he's flat out a lunatic. Now, after his loss, he went to X to post threats to Donald Trump's life, along with calls for violence at Mar-a-Lago. So he did that. But now it's been revealed something completely different. Here it is. Bomb Mar-a-Lago. That's his post. And by the way, that was just a few months ago. And why is it that every single time we get a chance to expose people that are so vehemently opposed to not just forget President Trump, just the America first, how do we maintain just basic decency, that they turn out being a child predator who has been running a multi-agency human trafficking ring?
There were no public signs that he hasn't tweeted anything bad. I mean, obviously it was just a random thing. Clearly they couldn't have looked at his Twitter page and literally seen that he's saying to bomb Mar-a-Lago. Oh, and I don't know, say commit an act of high treason, call for Trump to be taken out, allegedly. It's almost like you could look at his Twitter page and know he is a terrible person, and maybe you should look into his history based on that, and they could have caught him a lot sooner.
But this has become the cover that they've given to radicals. See, I believe it's the small cons that they're actually creating that create chaos. We've concentrated a bunch on that, and then we miss them bringing in the cash through the back door to institute sidewalks that can actually put us in a bad position. That look like they've been there forever. But in this one, he said, Donald Trump has committed an act of high treason. Should Congress refuse to take action, he will be killed by the people, as per the Second Amendment's existence. That's That was on 2/19 as well. And then we have this one. And this is just before, I believe this was just before he got suspended as well. Let me see if I can. Here, let me see if I can grab this really quick. Yeah, here we go. NATO should bomb Mar-a-Lago while Trump and the Republican leadership are down there. Preemptive strike against the ones threatening war with multiple NATO nations. This is clearly a bomb, and the one who built it was Elon Musk. He needs to be arrested. And it shows a bomb like.
Is that from the Tesla?
Yeah, the Tesla.
That exploded, yeah.
Yeah. So that was on, what day was that? Let's see, when it doesn't really show what day it is. February 2nd? Okay.
Yeah. So February 2nd was the second tweet about NATO should bomb Mar-a-Lago. The first tweet that's on the screen was 125. So the day before. So.
All right. So then if we could do this.
Or the month before.
What if I told you his priorities? This is, and by the way, the priorities we're about to talk about on his website are what has happened in Colorado. Like this radical child molester and child rapist. This is what we have in the Democrat Party in Colorado. This is who they are. So he wants you to join him to have a better Georgia. He
Where
wants
I'm from, by the way.
It's, you can go through. He wants to give reproductive rights to, under Georgia law, protect women's right to bodily autonomy, protecting the right to contraceptives, and protecting in vitro fertilization. The overturn of Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court ignored nearly 50 years of legal precedent, and the court wrote new law from the bench.
Boring. Like all the boring stuff. Okay, we get it, buddy.
But that's not really what happened.
Like, it's all fake. It's like, who takes the time to read this maniac's website and take anything seriously that he says? I mean, you should look at the top, see it's spray. Actually, here's what I propose. Anyone with the name Sprayberry, we should just arrest initially, just to be safe. Like if your last name's Spray, just to be safe, let's just arrest everyone with the last name Sprayberry. I think we'll probably get most of them by doing that.
Yeah. So this is it as you go through it, all of the things that he is pushing, all of the things that he's pushing have nothing to do with life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It has nothing to do with the welfare, the well-being, the expansion of that well-being. He doesn't talk about education. He talks about handouts. He talks about legalizing drugs, marijuana. These are the things that are most important. So follow me here. The Democrat Party is actually the party of the low IQ. They are some of the dumbest human beings known to man. You would have to be dumb. You'd have to be evil and dumb to support anything that they're doing and to vote for it. Call yourself a Democrat all you want. You should be running away, not walking away. You should be running away from the Democrat Party.
And they've also hijacked the empathy of intelligent people as well. So it's a combination of dumb people, hijacked people, cult members, and people who just feel like they need to continue what they used to support, so then they stay on the same side. But people are waking up, though. I do see a large number of people, and the only way they're going to be able to continue putting policies like that into place is by cheating. Not to get you started too much on that, Joe, but that's where it's heading. They know that. That's why they're trying as hard as they can to suppress people like Tina Peters, who try to expose the truth. They can't win with these ideological, idiotic ideas in a fair sphere where everyone can speak freely. So on X, they just can't.
So let's, if we need to look at this, and there's a video about this, but this just came out, literally yesterday. There was a multi-agency sting operation, and can we go ahead and play that video from WTV? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that works.
Let me just tell you about it. According to the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, 19 suspects, including a Georgia politician, have been arrested in connection with a multi-agency human trafficking operation. It takes a sick individual to want to take away a right that a child has, and the freedom and the safety and the comfort that a child has to bring harm to these children. said Muskogee, County Sheriff Greg Countryman. Officials say 32-year-old Carl Sprayberry and 18 other suspects are behind bars after a 4-day operation from April 25th to April 28th, forced on individuals engaged in sexually explicit communication with children on the internet who arranged to engage in sex with a child and to travel for the purpose of having sex. Sprayberry ran for District 139 in November 2024's election. You can watch the full presser below.
Wow.
So we can go through the people that are involved in this, but it is unbelievable.
Look at some of the ages too, 21, 23, some younger people in there too.
22.
22, and then also
34,
older people, 30,
25.
68. Wow. That's crazy.
Junk bunction.
Yeah, put us up next to it. Because, I mean, this, by the way, it's starting to piss me off that every single day on the show, we have to cover some sick pedos because that's how prevalent it is in our society. It's starting to piss me off.
How much you want to bet that the judges are going to let him out with a slap on the wrist?
Well, because the judges are probably in on it. Normally they are. I mean, most judges are bad people, unfortunately, besides all the ones who are presiding over any future cases I have. Besides that, they're all terrible, awful people.
So it's multi-generational. See, I've passed down from generation to generation the distrust of judges, because if you look at the problems that we have in our country, 100% of them were caused by judicial decisions that basically held hostage or put people in prison for long sentences that don't belong there, AKA, or otherwise, you look at Tina Peters. Let's go ahead and play this. Can we play this?
Investigation conducted a very successful 4-day operation titled Operation Lights Out. During April 25th through the 28th, Operation Lights Out led to 19 individuals being arrested, ranging from 21 to 68 years of age. This was a coordinated, collaborative effort between 12 law enforcement agencies. This operation focused on people engaged in sexually explicit communication with children on the internet who arranged to engage in sex with a child and to travel for the purpose of having sex. This operation targeted those willing to exploit children by purchasing sex with a minor. Online child predators use social media and websites on the internet to seek children to engage in conversation, to introduce them to sexual content, and arrange a meeting for the purpose of engaging in sex with a child. These sick predators targeted both boys and girls. Our efforts to bring an end to predators targeting children will not stop until they stop preying on our children. We shared with you a list of all the names of those arrested during Operation Lights Out. This will not be our last coordinated effort on human trafficking. I do want to plead with the parents to closely monitor your children to ensure that they are not communicating with these individuals who are preying on them. These predators will travel from near and far to victimize your children. We all take these crimes very seriously, very serious. And if you would focus on your children, because it would be our focus to find these predators and to bring them to justice so that they may be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I'll be turning the podium over to Brian Johnson, GBI Supervisor Agent in Charge.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Good morning. As the Sheriff said, my name is Brian Johnston. I'm with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Special Agent in charge of the Child Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit with the GBI. So with that, I'm also the commander of Georgia's Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. So this operation and many of the operations we've done in the past is not just a GBI operation. We cannot do this alone. We have a very robust crimes against children's task force.
Skip ahead of this part.
We're very proud of it, and we're very honored to be in identifying those that want to go after our children. So with that, I would like to thank.
Let's just pull it down. Let's pull it down.
Yeah, pull it down. When it gets boring, we got to pull the clip down.
Yeah.
It's not, no more information. He was just saying good job to the people, which, I mean, yeah, good job to them. But I don't want to hear all that.
All right. So you're going to continue to have people prey upon our children when you stop letting the schools and the education system prey upon our children.
And this is the third politician who has now been exposed doing something evil on the Democrat side within the last week. We had the Indian guy who's 70 years old that was literally abusing puppies and caused them to die by leaving them in harsh conditions. Now we have this pedophile network
who was elected to Congress. Yep. So he was elected to Congress. That means that Democrats voted for this guy. That was the best they could put forward, was a guy that literally tortured puppies. That's it. That's the best that they had. I mean, if you look at the politician well, just the well of the politicians that are out there, show me that they have any sort of strength. Show me when they actually go back and actually meet with the people and say, what do you need? Because if you sit down with people in the community, whether it be the poorest community among us or the wealthiest, they'll all say the same thing. We're overtaxed, right? The government's bloated. You've fundamentally taken away every ability for us to have a right without us either paying for it or restricting it fully so that we don't have access to the same things that we should have that are just basic rights. Basic rights. You have to pay for everything. You have to pay if you want to hunt. You have to pay if you want to fish. You have to pay if you want to get on the road. You have to pay to live in your house, even though you bought it. You paid it. You say you paid it off. You still have to pay taxes on it. So you don't own it. You rent it from the government. You have to pay to employ people. So if you employ someone, you have to pay an additional 7.5% into a pot. And then, by the way, on top of that, you have to match 401ks to make sure that you can take care of people, because the Social Security won't ever be enough for them. So it's a tax upon tax upon tax upon tax. People can't get out of the hole. And no matter how much success that you have, you never get to the next level because the people at the top have all of the chips. And they've created this system where we've destroyed the middle class. And I like what President Trump is doing. He's bringing back in the ability for us to start looking at how do we rebuild the middle class. But you can't do that when you're only, deporting, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people a year or a month. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, what was last month? It was like 5,500 or something.
Yeah, he's barely putting up 300 a day. So I mean, typically it's between 5,000 to 10,000, but I think last month it was even less than 5,000, wasn't it? It's really bad. It's not even. And I know we got to give them a little bit of time, but how much time?
Yeah, but you don't have to give them time. You shut down the border. You have an entire ledger of the people that are here. You said that there's going to be a public outcry. Great. Why can't we have a public outcry? Why is it that we don't have a public outcry for the things that Americans have to take the burden of?
You know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a timer on my phone.
All right.
And if by the time this timer hits 24 hours, the Trump administration hasn't deported a significantly larger amount of people than the normal daily average, then what I'm going to do is fly to the White House, walk inside, legally, of course. I'm not going to break in. and I will,
Mr. President, he's going to respectfully come say hi to you.
But not just that, I will pants every single member of the administration. If you don't know what that is, it means pulling down the pants, embarrassing them. I'm gonna do it to every single one of them.
You're gonna do-pants them?
I'm gonna de-pants. I'm gonna pants. Not the women, only the men, because that would be inappropriate. I'll have a woman come with me.
How are you gonna get their belt? What if you pull the pants down and rips the belt? So that,
we have to do something. Look, we have to do something. Either deport the illegals or get pantsed. You have 24 hours. See, the timer started. 24 hours.
Yeah, but here, I think Tom Holman wants to. But this is where you get into the weaponization of the.
Would they like that? Would they enjoy it? We may need to think of a worse.
You'd
punishment.
Be doing it to the Democrats, and they'd be walking around shaking their stuff. Right? They would enjoy it.
They'd be like, "Ooh, pants me."
Yeah. And then Nancy Pelosi, I don't know if you could de-pants her because she's.
You can't. Well, yeah. I don't know if she's a woman or not, but I think I would be able to pants Michelle Obama because that is a man. We have to be respectful. We can't pants. We have to pants our own gender, obviously, out of respect. Come on, it's a better plan than anyone else has put out there.
So in Congress, by the way, there is a trans Congress member, and every time that that Cousin It goes into a meeting, everyone calls him because he's a him. And they're like, God, they lose it. I can't believe you misgendered him. Hey, your lie is not my lie. You can lie to yourself all you want. Lie to yourself. Be a unicorn. But I don't, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. So we've talked enough about pedophiles.
Yeah. I hate having to spend so much time every show talking about that.
Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz is now slated to become the National Security Advisor, or excuse me, was the National Security Advisor, is slated to become the UN ambassador. And there's two things that I want to say here. Number one, why? You know, President Trump did something really amazing in the press room. And you had CNN that had to play a video of the fact that you have journalists that call themselves a pedigree that are saying that Americans a pedigree.
Pedogree.
Yeah,
pedigree. I think that's better terminology for them.
But you have them saying that you're not real journalists. He's letting not real journalists into the room. And when President Trump ran for office in 2016, he ran and said, look, he didn't have any foreign policy experience. He had none. And yet that was the only 4 years that we didn't have wars all over the world. He did develop a plan for what they were going to do in Afghanistan. And the plan was abandoned in large part by Biden with a rushed attempt to get out while leaving behind $13 billion in equipment. President Trump walked into the situation with common sense. And the one criticism that I'm going to have right now that I think everyone needs to understand, this is not a criticism of who President Trump is as a man, because I'm not criticizing him as a man. But the one criticism that I have about what's happening right now is that he is relying heavily on those that have institutional experience inside of the government apparatus. And the dangers of that is that they know where the bodies are buried, they know what to ignore, and they know how to look either incompetent or make someone else look incompetent so that someone else can take the fall while they slow down the process. I call those boat anchors. And in large part, that's what I'm afraid Mike Waltz is. Mike Waltz is a guy that understands where the bodies are buried. He is a pedigree. He has a pedigree that he understands how Washington and how our political system operates. And how are we going to break the system, Matt? How do we break the system and replace it and rip the Band-Aid off and do the things that are necessary in order to have sustainable? I'm not talking about quick fixes where, you can release all the J6ers. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right. What
I'm talking about is a seismic event, an event that's so large and so disruptive that you can't help but shake the foundation of all the sidewalks that they built, that they say institutionally, this is where you have to walk. And Mike Waltz going to the UN is going to be more of the same. He's going to come back and say certain things, and he's going to go there and say something totally different.
Yeah, he will. And we have a clip of him talking, by the way. He's not a super familiar person when it comes to American politics.
But
Apollo, if you want,
it's important.
Yeah, it is important. If you want to play the clip, I think you can get a little bit of an idea of who this guy is. We may not play the full clip, but go ahead and play it, Apollo, if you have that ready to go.
All right, there's a breaking news that happened in the commercial break. So you're looking at photographs right now of Michael Waltz. He is the president's national security advisor, except for we just got news that he is going to be leaving the administration along with his deputy, Alex Wong. Of course, if you might remember the story of Signalgate. I don't know if that's for a particular reason, but there was some consternation among some people about Mike Waltz, who you might remember was a congressman, Green Beret, a long
play the clip of him talking. Do you have that ready to go? The one I sent you on Twitter?
Heinrich is joining us now. I'm not sure. Is that right? No, Bill, sorry. I'm sorry. I got the news from...
That's the other one. I hate nothing more than Fox News, by the way. I almost hate them more than CNN and MSNBC, because CNN, they know they're lying. And they try to push this woke ideology. They know what they're doing. Fox News just acts dumb most of the time. And when they lie, they make it in some serious way that calls you a bad person if you disagree with them, which I don't know. I find Fox News super disrespectful. Yeah, play the clip though. I think it's still Fox News, but it's him talking, not some host.
But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the
execute?
I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So your staffer did not put his contact information.
No,
but how did it end up in your
that's
phone?
What we're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big
Sounds like
problem.
he's lying.
If there are
That's
numbers,
what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where, I mean, I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was?
So
on
the
the chat?
person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the.
Okay, yeah.
He said he's never talked to him. It's a lie.
Yeah, it is.
So just so where everyone's clear, if you know how the Signal works, you know who actually did the adding to the Signal chat. It shows that Joe Oltmann added this person. Now you can go back and you can look at how they got added. You can look at the fact that whether or not he was just lazy and did a search for the name, and this guy actually made his name appear as someone else's name. You could argue that, but what he's saying right now is fundamentally false. And anybody that uses Signal understands what he's saying is fundamentally false.
And you can tell by the language. Oh well, I take responsibility. I built it. Okay, well if you take responsibility, then actually take responsibility. Which one is it? And the biggest thing about this is it's one thing, coordinate it however you want, but the level of unseriousness on all fronts that these people are taking the act of human life being taken away. Bad guy, good guy. Many civilians getting caught up in the conflict that they were discussing in that group, but they don't seem to understand the weight. Even if it's a bad guy, you're still taking a human life. That is a serious thing. And they don't seem to have any weight on their soul.
Well, and nobody's talking about this. No, nobody's talking about, Matt, nobody's talking about fundamentally, the fact that the target here was Pete Hegseth.
Yep.
That's who the target was. And so we know that Pete Hegseth is a good guy. And he said, hey, this guy is a Green Beret. Look, just because you're in the military does not mean that you're a good person. It doesn't. It doesn't qualify you as a good person. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. And I do know a lot of people who I'm friends with that were in the military, and some of them are assholes, if we're being honest. I mean, if we're being honest, a lot of good people in the military, but it certainly doesn't mean you're a good person because you served. Absolutely not.
So he's out. And then President Trump did this. President Trump put out right after he was out as a national security advisor. And just so you know, he had made a recommendation that wasn't Mike Waltz. And she bailed. She withdrew her nomination. Donald Trump said this: I'm pleased to announce that I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. From his time in uniform on the battlefield, in Congress, and as my national security advisor, Mike Waltz has worked hard to put our national interests first. I know he will do the same in his new role. And the interim Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, will serve as national security advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Together, we will continue to fight tirelessly to make America and the world safe again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay.
I mean, it will be funny. Mike Waltz to the UN, because he doesn't seem to really care about the UN at all, and he seems to hate most of them. So I mean, there will be some comedic moments from it, but fundamentally, this entire pool of people that Trump is choosing from for his administration is better than the last administration, but still fundamentally flawed in many ways, and doesn't seem to truly care about human life to a level that I would like to see with politicians.
Is he consolidating though? I mean, is this a consolidation? Is this consolidation like Marco Rubio can do this and this so that he can see consistencies or inconsistencies in maybe the work that they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, you can't send someone who's too based to the UN if your goal is to accomplish something within that sphere, because he has to make connections. So you have to send a Marco Rubio of sorts, someone who is inept to some degree, who's sold out a lot, but still has some good opinions and overall agrees with Trump. That's what this is. It is a cop-out. It is a sellout. And we have to call it for what it is, regardless of how much we like Trump.
You know, President Trump's really smart, though. And they hang on his every word. Every time he says something, they hang on it. And, you know, it's funny we bring up Marco Rubio moving as National Security Advisor. We got a call yesterday, day before yesterday, from someone in Guatemala that's in intelligence in that country, right?
Someone very, very high up within that,
Yeah.
yes. And Guatemala is not a huge country, but what happens there spreads.
Yeah, it's a direct effect. I mean, USAID, just so everyone understands, USAID in Guatemala was run by Samantha Power, who pushed for legislative action inside the legislature of Guatemala in order to make it so that the attorney general could not be fired by the president, which is pretty groundbreaking because Guatemala has never had a two-term attorney general. So this goes all the way back to 2018. And so you have this new law that gets passed. Maria Consuelo Porras, who is the attorney general, has been the only attorney general to serve 2 consecutive terms. She's a conservative. The president of Guatemala is a radical leftist, George Soros Plant, who just a few years before he became the president started the Samia Party, which has the same logo as the Open Society logo for George Soros. And someone that did not even show up on the voter rolls, as far as on the what are they called? The polls didn't show up, like less than 1%. Miraculously won the election in Guatemala as a radical leftist. Now, Anthony Blinken came in and sanctioned, along with Samantha Power, who moved to the USAID in the US nationally, which we already know the USAID is a CIA stronghold. Okay? So you have the USAID, now she runs that. You have Anthony Blinken that is sanctioning the current attorney general for looking into election irregularities, including her own case. Built a very solid case on the fact that it was a stolen election, a manipulated election. Solid case. And now those people are under State Department sanctions. And Marco Rubio went down there as if the sidewalks were dry and continued the attacks on the attorney general. And now the president of Guatemala is exercising what could be considered a full coup against Guatemala and arresting the people inside of the judiciary, bypassing the courts and arresting the attorney general and the SecGen and all the other people in the office, in the judicial office of the country, and stated that they have the support of the United States ambassador, which turns out it's not true. It's the embassy down there in cahoots with the same people that were in Guatemala before. Anthony Blinken, who now is working covertly to sabotage what's happening in Guatemala. And Marco Rubio, mark my words, Marco Rubio is either following the same dictation because no one's paying attention to it, and is complicit with it, or he's just plain stupid. And Marco Rubio is a lot of things. He's not a stupid man.
He's a little man, but not stupid. Man. And at the end of the day, I mean, and just for the
that was
record,
a good diatribe, but I mean, it's important to note.
It is important, and it's important for multiple reasons. Number one, the way they cheated in their election there is something that other countries have and will continue to follow, including looks like some symbolism of that in the United States. They use some of the same systems. And so when it comes to that, we could obviously make a whole entire show just based on that alone. But people are now scared for their lives in Guatemala. People are worried who are trying to speak out, who are trying to be an anonymous source to bring us information and put other information out there, they know they can be arrested or they can have their life taken from them as a result of that. That's the level it's at now. And how far is the United States away from that potentially?
All right, but here's my problem. Let's put Marco Rubio up there. Marco Rubio, if you have the access of power for organizations assigned to foreign policy, right? I mean, he had to step up into a role that I'm not sure he's familiar with. But he's the Secretary of State. He's the Archivist of the United States. He's the National Security Advisor, and he's the Administrator of USAID. Okay. Now we know the history behind Marco Rubio before. It's a very sordid history. I mean, he's on again, off again against President Trump. Then he's for President Trump. Now he sits on and he wields an enormous amount of power, over the apparatuses that were directly connected to each other in South and Central America and doing real harm to people all over that continent. This is not a joke. I mean, if I was looking at it, I feel like this is a moment like Ukraine. Like I'm gonna stand on the side of Russia. This is the same thing I'm saying now. There's a danger to what is happening right now inside the administration.
The amount of money Marco Rubio's made from promoting war is disgusting. And he obviously gets paid by AIPAC. He's loyal to them to a high degree. He gets paid by a lot of major donors to do speeches and things like that. And so he's grown his net worth tens of millions of dollars as a result of people's lives being lost. And that's why he has the connections he does. That's why he's able to get a position in Trump's administration. That's why he gets pushed forward. And I don't think Trump even fully understands what he's being forced to do when he is told to make picks like this. He doesn't even fully understand it.
Well, what and we look at it from the outside in. We don't have all the chess pieces on the table, but I have enough chess pieces in certain countries that it's a good barometer for me of what's happening. Because I did take an entire file and pass it over to congressional leaders on the trafficking that came out of Save the Children. And you have Ryan Matta that's out there that's done a couple shows on this. He went down there, did an interview. I did an interview, and then I passed it over to Washington, and I was like, hey, you need to look underneath the hood here. This is what you have. And they didn't look underneath the hood. And it was rock solid evidence that shows that the director of Save the Children was directly involved in the trafficking of children, specifically from indigenous areas of Guatemala into the United States. And then they disappeared. And they did nothing with it.
Every single region that has turmoil and war, a lot of it is caused by the CIA, first of all. And second of all, a lot of it is caused by the CIA to facilitate trafficking operations. So that's where we start to get into dangerous territory. And all roads, when it comes to the government and the CIA and the agencies, all roads seem to lead back to pedophilia. We can't do a show without having to continue coming back to that. And it's at the point where you start to realize that most of the people who are pushing for the most evil are tied into those rings, are tied into those networks. And on top of that, are being funded at high levels by billionaires and elites who are either participating and or part of it as a result of them getting capitulations in other areas. Like, for example, if they're big supporters of certain wars, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, whatever, they get that, they give the money, and then they either look past all of the bad stuff that's happening or they're okay with it because they're part of it. There's no other option here. That's what we're dealing with. And that's why you're right when you say we have to fundamentally change the system, and it may require force, unfortunately.
Marco Rubio scares me. He should scare everybody. And I just don't. And look, I say this again, President Trump, I'm on the sideline. I'm a armchair quarterback right now. But the fact that we keep choosing people based upon them being involved in understanding the apparatus of Washington. The one thing I like about Elon Musk, I like a lot of things about him. I'll just say it. But, he did the thing where he was wearing two hats. He said, I've been told I wear a lot of hats. So even my hat has a hat. Right? He said that in an interview with President Trump. Is that he innocently walks in and turns things over. Like, what does this do? What does this do? You push buttons. Boop, I just sent $1 million to the Taliban. Let's get that money back. It's almost that silly. But he that there's an innocence. If you can find people that are competent, that have a high degree of intelligence and can speak to people, can articulate it, but don't have the government understanding of the apparatuses, you're more likely to find out where the honey holes are, and you're more likely to find out what they've been hiding. And that's what Elon Musk has done. But what is surrounded President Trump right now reminds me of what we'd see with Julius Caesar when Brutus stabbed him. That's what it reminds me of. And my fear is it's going to come from the inside, not from the outside. And until we get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, until we actually refine and get down to a very inconvenient voting system in order to take chess pieces off the table, 2026 is going to be a bloodbath for us.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. And I hate to say that because it's the most overused slogan. He's a good guy, but he's surrounded by people that are backstabbing him. Well, at some point, two things are true. First of all, I have a Trump signed poster at home. I love Trump for so many different reasons. He's awesome. He's funny. He has a good heart. But at the same time, he needs to take some responsibility after you get to your second term, after you understand the system, for him still to be hiring some of these people that are bad. He's got some good ones, but he needs some accountability for that. He should look in the mirror and say, why do I continue seeing results on a foreign policy level, on an immigration level, that fundamentally go against the values that I have said I support on the campaign trail and that I truly believe in? And he should fire some of these people. He shouldn't have fired them in the first place. Say screw you to the donors.
I think he thought that he was going to get further with experience. And and again, I'm just looking at this from the perspective that I remember going to Washington on January 4th. I remember being in Washington. You could cut Apollo describe it. Have Apollo describe it. It's unbelievable. The thirst.
It was just an overwhelming greed to be at the center of everything, but also a complete lack of urgency to get anything actually done.
It was stunning, Matt. It was stunning. It would be like the painters showing up at my house to paint the house, and they never painted it. They just sat around.
Sounds like you have some experience with contractors. I said it sounds a little too personal to be just a analogy there, but yeah, it's not only is that right, but it's this government and the way it's being run is probably the biggest scam that we've seen in the history of humanity, by far.
So what's next with it? You think he's going to figure it out?
At his age, with his, he still has a lot of energy. I don't know. I don't feel supremely confident that an 80-year-old man who's stuck in his ways in a lot of things, and who can't confront the fact that a lot of the people who do have ties to foreign governments are in control of the country. He won't confront that fact, and until he does, he's not going to be able to initiate real change.
All right, so I do want to say this. He is not 80 yet. So
you got me.
Fact checking. He's not 80 yet. And since my friend is 88 years old and still is awesome, and President Trump hasn't shown any signs of slowing down.
Well, but if you look at an interview of him 40 years ago, if we could choose, we would pick that Trump over this Trump. But this Trump is still better than 99% of politicians, maybe 99.9% of politicians out there.
Do you think we're going to go to war?
We're fighting wars on many fronts already.
I know, but I'm thinking,
you mean with Iran?
With on our side, left versus right, you had Pritzker that came out and said, show MAGA no peace. MAGA's like, let's go, rip the Band-Aid off. Do you think we're going to war? Because it feels as if what I felt in Washington, that heaviness is all around us now.
Throw the first punch. That's my challenge.
But they have. They threw it in 2020. They threw it in 2022. They threw it in 2024. They stole elections in 2025. And we did nothing. We sat back and we watched it happen. So, they've been throwing punches. We haven't been throwing punches.
How many people has Pam Bondi arrested that she said she would go after?
Zero.
The judges count? Maybe we can give her 2. But it should be hundreds. It should be thousands.
But there were 2 new judges. So she has And I know she's working on things. I have to have enough confidence and faith that she'll do the right thing. But I'm yet to see a politician that does the right thing, just other than President Trump, that just does the right thing.
Thomas Massey, I feel like, is pretty good most of the time.
Most of the time. And I like Thomas Massey. But he doesn't, though.
Matt Gaetz also had a streak of doing pretty good stuff for a while there until
And
he
now he's
decided.
gone.
Yeah, they forced him out. And Thomas Massey, they're trying to force him out, spending a bunch of money on that. I mean, there are a few people who, even Ron Paul, to some degree, and his father as well, Rand Paul. Or I guess I switched that around the other way. But,
Yeah.
but those two also, I mean, there are people who have stood up for what's right at a revolutionary and extremist level in the most positive way possible. But normally, two things happen. Number one, they get attacked by both sides. And number two, they're by themselves. And they're going up against a sea of people who are trying to hurt them and who are out for themselves.
That sounds familiar.
Is that us?
Yeah. I mean, isn't it?
If you look at all the other media shows, how many are willing to truly say what's happening with the Trump administration? Now, there are more nowadays, but fundamentally, almost every single person who's weighing in on the subject has someone who's funding them that they have to cater to, has an ideology they're trying to push, cares deeply about one party or the other winning, which is okay to do. But if you're not telling the truth because of that, then it's no longer okay. And that's almost everyone.
The problem is telling the truth takes a lot of courage, and taking the hits even takes more courage, and then surviving the hits even takes an immense amount of courage. That I'm very good with evidence of that happening. So, we have some more news. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ukraine. Ukraine. We'll be right back.
Gabe! Dude, Gabe, something's in the dumpster.
Whoa, what is that for?
Something's in the dumpster, man.
Well, let's use the burner. We don't want to wake the neighbors. Freeze! Stop resisting!
If you're looking for a less than lethal option for self-defense or keeping pests out of your dumpster, then check out Byrna at DCF Guns. Visit us at our 3 locations in Castle Rock or Colorado Springs, or visit us online at dcfguns.com.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm John Tig Tigan. I'm one of the Benghazi warriors from 9/11/2012, or 13 Hours movie. If you're a gun owner or plan on becoming a gun owner, this is where DCF comes in. As one of the lead instructors over here at DCF Guns, I'm going to ensure that you can properly handle your firearm and properly defend and protect your loved ones and yourself. For those of you guys that are thinking about purchasing a gun or getting involved in firearms, DCF Guns has an introductory class which will teach you the very basics of firearms, how to store firearms, even how to pick your own firearm if you have not yet. Our next step is the 100 series. We're going to go into the fundamentals of marksmanship, which is going to be how to hold your firearm, how to sight in your firearm. Then we're going to go into the next step, which is going to be your maintenance, disassembling, reassembling your firearm. And then we're going to go into how to strings of fire, rapid fire, how to get more accurate shots on your thread. Our next step is the 200 series. With pistol, we're going to teach you how to draw from the holster and return to the holster in a safe manner. With the carbine, we're going to teach you how to use the sling properly. We're going to teach you how to do proper reloads, what different types of reloads there are. We're going to teach you cover and concealment, what's the purpose of each and which one does what, and then good in shooting and moving, and also transitioning from your rifle to your pistol and back from your pistol to your rifle. Your next step is going to be the level 300 series. This kind of combines all your training into one step. Keep going forwards. What we do, we're going to go into low light. We're going to go into close quarter combat stuff, CQB, room to room clearing, situational training and stuff like that. Your training never ends, so get in here and let's get it done. Start your training at DCF Guns today and save on classes when you become a member. And when you become a member at DCF Guns, you can unlock some major benefits. Priority range reservations, discounts on firearms and ammo, discounts on gunsmithing, and we offer a lifetime cleaning. So visit dcfguns.com to learn more, or you can contact us directly with any questions you might have.
The deal with Ukraine is done, Matt.
Finally, there we go. It's if only it actually was real, and they weren't still going to continue fighting, and it was all for nothing. But at least we can pretend like it's done now. That's nice.
If Russia signs it and Ukraine signs it, do you think Zelensky's out?
Not by will, but yeah, they'll probably find a way to force him out, and he's going to have to go run to the United States.
Because I think they'll charge him. I think that his biggest fear is that when he gets him out, they're going to charge him.
As he is deserving of, to be honest.
There is such an underpinning of hate for that man in Ukraine. I don't think anyone that's listening understands how big their hate is. It's tremendous. I bet you no more than 5% of that country supports you, Zelensky.
Oh, not yeah. It's 5%. May even be generous to him. I mean, what kind?
Well, it was 15. I mean, you had a pretty good barometer of how many people there. But
it's what's the worst part about it is he chose land that wasn't even that valuable over human life on a consistent and overwhelming level, and he chose to initiate parts of the war. Of course, Putin still has blame. Putin still killed people and stuff. And Putin's certainly not above it all. But Zelensky was the main perpetrator and seemed to be working in lockstep with the big military industry, because they're trying to make money. They install him, and then they do that. We go over this multiple times, but I think the point really needs to be hit home that that's what this was. Zelensky is a plant, and he's working with the worst people on earth. And so, as bad as Putin can be at times, or as good, whatever you want to think of him, at least he's not a plant working directly with the worst people on earth like Zelensky is.
I don't know. I mean, look, I stand with Russia for a lot of reasons. They were our ally in World War II, and if it wasn't for the Cold War, we'd be in a much better position where it feels like people are trying to keep the good guys away from each other because it exposes some of the irregularities or some of the bad people that we have in our country, specifically the CIA.
They very much fear Russia and the United States coming together, two countries that are primarily Christian, that are not super big into diversity, obviously. That's what they fear. And so that's why they have to constantly manufacture wars between us for the purposes of making money and for the purposes of making sure that there's not a united front that can form against them.
So we have this. I want to just go through this really quick. Yeah, we flew through an hour pretty quickly.
Yeah.
This is a comment by the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard. And she had a lot to say about getting this deal done with Ukraine. Let's go ahead and play it.
This deal was very important to the president to get done. And today was a big day. A lot of work went into getting this deal signed today because he values the fact that, as he talked about earlier in the cabinet meeting today, about how the American taxpayer has provided overall, when you look at all of the aid that's been given to Ukraine since the Russia-Ukraine war started, $350 billion. And when you look at some of the deals that some of the other European countries made with the aid they provided with Ukraine, either they used frozen Russian money, so they weren't using their taxpayer dollars. They found a way to give them, frozen money from Russian funds. And in other areas, they said, okay, we'll loan you this money and we'll figure out a payback plan for the future. But not us, not the Biden administration. This money was just given and that's it. So President Trump understood that, was very, very, very bothered by it, that the American people are just out of pocket on this without any means of any kind of repayment whatsoever. And so this minerals deal is a way for the American people to get some form of not return, but some kind of a repayment based on the taxpayer dollars that have been expended and used to pay for someone else's government to be run, to pay for someone else's infrastructure, even outside of all of the weapons system, while we still have communities here who have failing infrastructure, who have poisonous water, who have people still in Western North Carolina who are homeless.
One of the only ones that does.
And don't have the basic needs that they have. And so this deal, yes, of course, he wouldn't have made the deal if they don't have these rare earth and minerals that still need to be mined. But of course we checked. He's not going to go and make a blind deal based on just a handshake. And so this is a win for the American people, and it's a win for the Ukrainian people, because this joint partnership is something that is mutually beneficial for the people of both of our countries.
Here's my problem. Again, arbiter of reality. I'm just giving my thoughts on this. They have calmly, with decorum, very smoothly polished shit.
Yeah. And Tulsi, at least you notice the difference between her talking and Waltz talking. She cares. And it's not just because she's a woman, it's because she has a heart. There's plenty of men that do as well. She has a heart. She wants to see the best things happening. And even though she is trying to polish a turd with the administration, that just like Katy Perry, we're about to show you what that reference in a second here. But that's what they're doing. And she fundamentally is able to care while doing it, but still is having to push as part of the administration this plan, which should have been done by the Biden administration and they shouldn't have allowed the war to happen in the first place. They shouldn't have allowed profit to be taken from it. And now, okay, this country, we're going to go get their minerals. It just seems so disrespectful to the human life that was lost, making it so transactional like that. It pisses me off. Again, it's like the third time I've been pissed off this show, but it's not transactional. This is a war that took 600,000 people's lives, men who could have had families, who did have families, who were contributing to society, who had dreams, who had hopes. And now it's just being boiled down to a transaction.
And people have died. And it all came back down to money.
Yep.
Came back down to money. I want to give RT a shout out. We had the spokesperson for the State Department, Tammy Bruce, that had this to say about this. Is not just a financial arrangement, but that's exactly what it sounded like. Let's go ahead and play it.
What we do know from this deal and what the president has said and what has been made clear now in this arrangement is that it cements a partnership, an economic partnership between the United States and Ukraine. And it is something that also speaks to the nature of how Ukraine will rebuild after this catastrophe. It is a terrific deal. I think that it is, and again, it's the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, and it involves much more than just the critical minerals. And I think certainly what I think Ukraine understands and what we intend is that this is not just a financial arrangement. This is a bonding between two countries that will make a difference for a nation, certainly in Ukraine's situation where they have a friend, and the rest of the world will notice that when you have a friend like the United States and when we are in business with you and in your nation, it creates a stronger national.
I'm not going to say anything yet because I just want you to hear what Scott Bissett has to say. Let's just go ahead and listen to him. I don't even know if I can.
This clip is like a drone, by the way. He doesn't look like a human in this clip. It looks like he's just a robot reciting lines.
Well, and the spokesperson for the State Department didn't like the deal either. I mean, let's go and play it.
Thanks to President Trump's tireless efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
Can I be critical?
Please do.
He read a teleprompter.
Yep.
I mean, that you can see by the inflection of how so he didn't believe what he was saying, and it wasn't written by him. It was written by someone else. We don't have teleprompters here. We've never had a teleprompter inside of this office at all. It's not a teleprompter. That's called a confidence monitor. That's me. I want to turn it around.
It doesn't have any words on it. Yeah, it's funny because it looks like it's not a teleprompter, but it has. You can see like stuff from the show on the little screen there.
I don't know if you can.
But okay. Who am I, Joe?
Yeah, can you take Cam 4 and put it on it so you can show people?
Yeah, you can see the non-teleprompter. But
yeah, or 3. Just use 3. Yeah, so we have a bunch of cameras in here. It's actually a pretty cool place. I mean, you could check. It's a cool studio.
A lot of money was put into the studio.
Yeah, a ton of money is put in the studio. So you have, there's a picture, and you can see camera 2. This kind of, I don't really want to give people a behind the scenes approach to it, but yeah, I look at the comments up here on the confidence monitor, so I can see what's going on.
That's how we can read the comments.
When you believe in senseless wars, when you believe that you want to get rid of wars, that you want to actually protect the people, there's a certain way, there's a certain amount of emotion that exudes the conversation that you're having. And I remember going into war-torn areas all over the Middle East and Africa where people had died for senselessly. In Kenya in 2008, they chopped up men, women, and children. You had the Kenya burning, and most people don't know about this, where the tens of thousands of Kenyans died. You have Syria, Egypt, Libya, Sudan, South Sudan, where all of this happened. And I bring that up because we flippantly have created a conversation about, we have this economic deal. We gave them $200 billion. It's not the $200 billion. It's the fact that we've boiled this down to a relationship that we have to have with Ukraine, knowing how bad Ukraine has been in the past, for being the place, the bastard child for all the evil people. And we have to just accept it. We have to accept the fact that I got to partner up with a little midget named Zelensky, that he has any benefit at all over the death and destruction of his own people.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly doesn't care about them. And I just want to, real quick. Hi, my name is Scott Clarinet, and I know there may have been people that died in the war, but at least don't worry, guys, we're going to be able to profit from it. We've already arranged for us to be able to make billions of dollars from the land there. BlackRock is well taken care of. We care super deeply. We really care a lot about the lives that were lost. but we're going to make money from it, so don't worry. That's it. Who's that?
That's really who
that's
they
Scott Clarinet right there.
Yeah.
Scott Bassinet. I changed his name to Clarinet because he reminds me of a clarinet.
We're going to have to start giving people things, and they're going to say, "Oh, you don't like Trump." I'm like, "Get out of here." Do you have a Trump tattoo?
I'm not going to say where it is. No one will ever find it.
Let's have a little bit of fun now. We'll close it out with a little bit of fun, then pray. Tren Agua and Tren del Agua are not the same thing. And so we finally found out that the gangs are not the same as the other gang. Should we play it? Let's play the cut two.
Tio Juventino here to clarify, okay? A lot of people are getting confused because the names right here sound the same. The Venezuelan gang is Tren de Aragua, the train from Aragua, okay? Very bad hombres. This vato over here is a Trans de Agua, underwater pepino floater, okay? Also a different kind of hombre. All right, this vato, the swimmer, he was last place when he was against the guys. Ahora míralo, Pipit is nice, puro pinche gold medalist, okay? Hey, some people call it cheating, some people call it equality. All right, so that is your lesson of the day. Tio Juventino, don't forget, we are in Chandler, Arizona all weekend long, 5 shows.
It's pretty good.
It is really good. And you had one you want to play.
Oh yeah, I think it's important, extremely important. It's Katy Perry putting a very serious message out to the world. If we want to go ahead and play the clip. All right, that's enough. Turn it off. Get it off my screen.
Yeah, I don't.
What's going on there?
Okay, make it
Katy
make sense
Poopy?
to me. Katy Perry is on
Katy Poopy. It's Katy Poopy. It's not Katy Perry.
Katy Poopy.
Katy
She's
Poopy.
on stage with a huge toilet, and if you're in the audio version, poop is coming out of the toilet, and she's singing and touching and massaging the poop.
You know what this is, right? They're trying to normalize disgusting things.
Yeah,
on TV. They've been doing it for 2 decades.
I didn't even think
plus
about it
now,
that way.
But that's really what it comes down to. The person who designed the set, who had this in mind, we all know the exact characteristic of that person. It's some evil producer type guy who probably has ties to Hollywood. Well, obviously does. He's working with Katy Perry, but that's the type, and they want to push it, and they're all working together on it. And so, atheists, many of them Jewish, formerly now atheists. That's a lot of them are like that.
Yeah, but Jewish,
probably.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It could just be a normal atheist. They're also pretty bad a lot of the times. So
I think
we don't know. Could have been a Jewish atheist. Could have been a normal atheist. But whoever it was, we've probably. I'm gonna look into who did that because I'm curious now. Next show, I'll let you know. But obviously, that's what they're doing.
My job as the senior here and also like the basketball star is to impart my knowledge on Matt and the young people for making sure that we understand who the target is so that we don't create new targets that encompass, like, do what they've done. Like, all white people are bad, all. And that's just not true. So I'm trying to impart my knowledge on not just Matt, but people that are as young as Matt that also can't beat me in basketball.
Yeah, basically what he's saying is don't hate all Jewish people because there's some bad atheist Jews that are running things, which is a fair point.
Yes.
Yeah, we shouldn't hate any group of people.
See, I should have said that way.
But also at the same time, it's fun. It's fun to call them out. So I'm going to continue doing that. I don't really care who I offend.
I know you don't, which is actually great because this is where we get into the part where we have to be honest with what we think, right? And we're going to say the quiet part out loud. You want to pray us out?
I do.
All right.
Dear Lord, as people continue to lose their lives across the world and as children continue to be victimized, give us the strength to stand up against it, to fight, to become closer to you and to see the good in the world despite all of the evil, because there's so much good here and it's all for a purpose. It's all to get closer to you, and earth is temporary. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to enjoy it. Amen.
Amen. housekeeping. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more will soon be on Roku, Google TV, and Apple TV. Go ahead and hit the share button on your way out. If you could hit the little up button and share it. You are the ambassadors of truth. And one of the things that Matt and I are trying to do is we're trying to bring generations together so we can start having conversations. There are things that Matt believes that I don't believe, things that I believe that Matt doesn't believe. But Matt has also taught me quite a bit. And I didn't think it was possible to teach me anything. I mean, he certainly can't teach me how to play basketball, but
I can teach him how to play horse though. So
he did beat me in horse. Yeah. So the standstill sports, you might win. You might win on those.
You should have seen some of the shots. I mean,
you did make some pretty good shots. I'm just trying to figure out
why. They weren't all standing still shots. I did it around the back, under the basketball hoop, layup. And Joe had a hard time. He had a hard, and I beat him. I was winning 3-0 before that at one point in the game. And then I was like, all right, Joe, you can let him have a couple points back. So it was 3-2. And then I was like, all right, I'm closing this out. And so I won 5-3.
So then he did the like rub on your belly and tap on your head deal and with throwing the shot off his elbow. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And he made it,
easily.
Which is crazy.
I never miss.
All right. Go ahead and bookmark us, find us, text.
By the way, this is the fastest growing show in the world right now.
Yeah,
it's the fastest growing. You know, there's someone out there who would rather listen to this than one of the gay, boring shows they're listening to right now. So send them the link. Say, hey, stop listening.
Shows?
Stop listening. Yeah. Stop listening to all the people who are lying to you and who don't actually care, and come listen to us instead. It's better, more fun. Live every day, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Every weekday. Yeah.
And then you can actually get any sort of. We are going to do some special stuff. We'll talk about that later when it's all ink dry. Text Untamed to 89517. And we'll send over some crazy stuff to you as well. We're going to do a couple giveaways in the next couple months. And I do want to give a shout out to Rumble for kind of getting in and fixing some of the things that we were dealing with, at least partially. So look forward to doing more on that platform.
And for not banning me for making racist jokes. Thank you, Rumble.
They weren't really racist. That's the whole thing. You just had one person say it was racist. And that's their dog whistle. All right. We'll see you guys soon.
I'll work on making my jokes more racist, by the way. I'll try. I'm working on it.
Okay, Spooby.
All right, bye.